It's the only satellite police academy in eastern Connecticut. We visit the Eastern Regional Police Academy in Norwich as they celebrate 2 years of training the region's police officers. Plus, we take a look at other stories making the headlines from around the region. This is Connecticut East This Week. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith. Training to be a police officer used to mean traveling and staying away from home and being based at the state's main police academy in Meriden, and to some degree that's still true today. But over the years, satellite police academies have cropped up across the state to help add to the main police academy's capabilities. And 2 years ago, Eastern Connecticut got their own satellite academy in Norwich. Connecticut East This Week visited the Eastern Regional Police Academy recently, and I sat down in conversation with staff and recruits. We start our interview with James Devaney, the director and commandant of the Norwich-based academy. James, ever so many thanks for inviting us to the council, the training facility here in Norwich. Tell us a little bit about it, because it's just turned 2 years old, opened in 2023, and it's called a satellite facility. So just explain to us how it came about and how successful it's been.
So in 2020, the chiefs of the Law Enforcement Council, we have 18 departments within our agency, decided we should start a satellite academy. At the time, there were 7 other satellite academies, plus the main academy at Post. There was difficulty in getting seats for recruits at the other academies, and the Post Academy is a residential academy where recruits had to stay there during the week. Monday morning they report and they leave on Friday. So the chiefs discussed forming our own academy. We petitioned Post to start a satellite academy, received permission, and developed our curriculum through Post to start our first session 1 in 2023.
So we're just going to clarify for people listening. So LEC is...
The LEC is a law enforcement council. It's been around since 1974. All of our towns are in southeastern Connecticut. 2 universities, 2 tribal police departments, and the rest municipal police departments. Post is the Police Officer Standing Training Council in Meriden. That's the mothership of all police academies. We're the only satellite academy that is not affiliated with a police department, because the Law Enforcement Council is nonprofit. So we had to get special permission from the Post Council to start our academy.
Again, just for the listeners, when they hear about a satellite, sometimes I think people think, oh, well, maybe it's not as good, as they don't get the same amount of training. Just explain what happens here. I'm guessing it is all exactly the same type of stuff that they would get if they went to Meriden.
That's correct. So Meriden has a curriculum of 927 hours that police recruits are required to obtain, and then they have 400 hours of FTO after graduating from the academy. We mirror the Post curriculum, but we also add other things in classes that we feel that our recruits in this area deserve. But we have police officers teaching police officers. That was our goal back in 2023, is for police officers in the LEC and outside the LEC to teach officers that they're going to work with.
So give us an idea, because people who are listening to this, there might be people who are interested in becoming a police officer. And I know that recruiting is something which is an ongoing thing here, not only in Connecticut, but across the state. What type of stuff do you do here?
This week, we have our impaired driving training. That's 4 days with certified Post instructors. All our instructors are Post certified. They have to be approved by Post, and then they teach their curriculum that their experts are qualified in. We have firearms, physical education, impaired driving, EVOC training. They do a week of EVOC training.
What's EVOC?
That's vehicle driving, because police drive 24 hours a day. That's a 40-hour block of a training. Both state's attorneys in New London County, Paul Narducci, and the Wyndham State's Attorney, Ann Mahoney, provide instructors to our academy, because they're going to be prosecuting cases that these officers are going to be writing. So prosecutors in both state's attorney's office teach criminal law, laws of arrest, search and seizure, laws of evidence, special classes that you have to be a prosecutor to teach. And then we have officers from all our 18 agencies teach one or multiple classes to the recruits.
Before we started doing this interview, we were having obviously a quick chat, and you were saying about your own career. I mean, you are a former police officer yourself, and you said that you remember when you did the academy. I think you said it was only 3 months back then. Now it's 6 months, I believe. Things have changed a lot, haven't they? And, police, one little problem, and it seems to be the police's problem, doesn't it, these days?
Yes. I went to the academy many years ago, 3 months. Now it's 6 months, 27 weeks, 900 some hours. The police, yeah, they do more than just policing now. And we have to train our recruits to that level.
We've just been joined by all of the students. They're all being very terribly quiet and very nice as they walk in on their break here. You do some teaching as well. Just quickly tell us a little bit about, because again, even though you are like the director here, it's not just sat behind the desk.
I teach 3 or 4 classes. I teach crime prevention because I was crime prevention officer once. I teach case preparation. I teach search warrant prep because of my job as an inspector and a police supervisor. Or multiple reviews of search warrants. But again, we try to get police officers teaching police officers.
Robert Drozinski. I'm the training coordinator for the Eastern Regional Police Academy in the Law Enforcement Council of Connecticut.
You've just told us what your role is. What does that encompass?
My role as the training coordinator is to assist in the administration of the classroom activities for the Eastern Regional Police Academy, as well as in-service training for experienced officers, and to build a recertification program so they can receive timely and updated information regarding new police techniques.
You are a former officer yourself. You were a former police chief as well. So you've got a huge wealth of experience. But like everything, training has to change. How has it and how does it need to change in your view to make sure that you are putting cops out there, police officers, who are the best they can be?
I think one of the biggest changes for law enforcement training is realizing that the new officers we are getting are much better educated than they were 20 or 30 years ago. They come with a deeper background. They come from a lot of different cultural backgrounds, which assists them in serving the communities better. And based on their past experiences, we had to adjust our training methods. They are much more computer literate than officers were 20 or 30 years ago. They learn differently, small bites of information with various forms of media to get that information to them is what really resonates the best with them.
The police have to do what it seems like everything these days. Any situation, the police seem to be called upon. And we're even talking about not just situations, but like autism and being able to deal with people who are on the autism spectrum. There's a lot of nuances as well with the training, isn't there, about all these different things that police officers have to be able to wrap their heads around.
Yes, there certainly is. The police agencies, since they operate 24/7, 365, are the only agency that's available to the citizens at all hours of the day and night. So when people don't have any idea who else to call, they rely on the police department to take care of problems in their neighborhood and in their homes using traditional and non-traditional police methods.
As you look back over your police career, do you think you would have done anything different, or are you pleased that you actually had that career and what is considered still a very honorable profession of being a police officer?
I think the important thing is to evolve with the times. Several decades ago, it was, do I make an arrest? Don't I make an arrest? Or do I just walk away? And now there's got to be more of an emphasis on problem solving and long-term solutions rather than just making an arrest and hoping that fixes the situation. Also using whatever services are out there and guiding people towards those services is a significant change from what was the methodology 20 or 30 years ago.
I'm Sergeant Eric Cordoweg with the Groundtown Police Department. I'm the lead PT instructor for the Eastern Regional Police Academy.
The people can't see you. I'm just going to quickly explain what you look like. You're what, about 6'3"? 6'1". And how much do you weigh? About 220. So I believe there is a little bit of a nickname. Is it the Beast?
I've been called that, yeah.
Physical fitness is your thing. How has that changed in the police force?
So PT has been super, super important for me. I played college baseball growing up and was in probably the best shape of my life. when I got hired, it's very easy on shift work to let your fitness go down because you're busy working, eating garbage food when you can on the side of the road. And so I got actually to a pretty bad fight in 2015 when I was probably in the worst shape of my life, and that kind of changed things for me. So since that time, PT's just been super, super important. I'm passionate about it, and I don't want the recruits to fall into the same traps that I fell into when I first got hired, coming in the best shape of my life and then just kind of letting that deteriorate. So I'm passionate about making sure the recruits hear my story and make sure that PT is important in their lives.
To make very clear, and people won't realize this, is that you guys and girls carry around a hell of a lot of equipment. I mean, that can weigh anywhere between about 15 and 20 pounds, can't it?
Yeah, so our duty belts and all of our equipment, I mean, can weigh 20, 30 pounds, and then you start carrying plates in your vests and everything. So it gets heavy. A lot of departments are moving towards external carriers now too, to kind of remove that weight off of your belt. For the first, I don't know, half of my career, I had a duty belt, and you definitely get lower back problems. And so, I mean, that's just another facet of trying to stay in shape too, is even sitting in the car. I mean, you're carrying a lot of weight around. So the physical fitness portion is important just for your own well-being.
And what are some of the things they have to go through or they have to meet? Because, I mean, we're not talking about Olympic standards athletics here, but even still, they still have to hit certain parameters, don't they?
Yeah. So entering to get hired by a police department, they have to pass a Cooper test. So standard push-ups, sit-ups, sprint, and 1.5 mile run. Throughout the academy, they have halfway through, they have to meet that same standard that they come in at. And then to graduate from the academy, they actually have to meet a higher standard of the Cooper test. That's kind of like the basis of just making sure that they hit those milestones throughout the academy. But during PT, I drive to push them, make them uncomfortable, make them feel like they get in that dark place and they can't go on. And their purpose for that is they can go on, and they're going to find themselves in situations out on the road that they're going to be in the fight for their life, and they need to have that ability to fight through that pain, fight through that discomfort, and get through. PT is a controlled environment. They're not going to get hurt, but they are forced to go to that dark place and just find that mental zone to just push through those tough workouts.
It is a tough job if you're fortunate to have a canine. I mean, the canine can do so much sort of thing, but I mean, you still have to be, as you say, physically fit yourself, physically able to do the job, because the hours can be long as well. Even if you do a shift, I suppose it's not unheard of that you might end up having to do overtime. And again, if you've had a long day, this all adds to not just the mental side of it, the physical side has to be there as well.
So long hours, obviously that plays into it, making sure that they're eating well and getting the right amount of sleep. Nutrition's a huge part of that. And that's part of my instructor portion here, is teaching at the beginning their nutrition. As I mentioned before, early on in my career, I was stopping at fast food restaurants and stuff to get a bite to eat just because, I might get held over and didn't bring enough food, or maybe I didn't prepare well enough to bring food. So the nutrition and staying well, like I said before, just keeping yourself well, not even talking about dealing with, the incidents that you're going to and having to keep up. If you were to go on a canine track per se, having to keep up with the dog, or having to set up perimeters, or go through windows, or jump over fences, or chasing people, like take that stuff aside of it. A major portion that a lot of officers struggle with is their own physical and mental and nutritional wellness.
Do you find that some of the younger officers now are a little bit more in tune to that? Because we do sort of like live in that, whether you're a police officer or not, we do live in that TikTok, Instagram culture where there's lots of videos of people exercising, nutrition. So have they got a little bit more of a grasp of that?
Yeah, I would say the younger officers coming in are definitely in a lot better shape. I found that their mental strength might not be at the level that I would like to see, but the portion of our PT that puts them in that tough spot, that they're really struggling to feel like they can actually complete the workout, we're building that mental strength. So I would say the younger recruits coming into the academy are definitely, I think, overall in better shape than what I've experienced in the past. Especially, you got a lot of veteran guys that are nearing the end of their career that, fitness might not be as important for them. So I think physical fitness is more important to the younger guys, but I'd say that mental toughness is what we're really working on.
Nicolette Maselli with the Waterford Police Department.
And also,
Miguel Ortiz with the Yukon Police Department.
thank you both. We've pulled you out of your training session here at the academy. Tell us, how much more convenient is it to be able to come here? Because normally recruits have to go to Meriden. How convenient is it?
This one, especially having a smaller class size, it's a lot more easier to get a one-on-one with instructors. Me personally, it's only about a 25, 30-minute drive, so it's a lot easier to go back to my department if I still have time at the end of the day. It's definitely a lot easier, and I would have preferred this satellite location over going to Meriden.
I have to agree with my recruit, Maselli. Being in a smaller classroom setting makes it easier for us to learn. We also get a lot closer to each other. We built great friendships with our class of 12. We do a lot more hands-on, and if we're struggling in a certain area, we're able to get the instructor to help us more one-on-one, pull us out of the classroom. If anything we need is to stay after or whatever, they're great with that. So I think being at Meriden, I heard they're a great academy as well, but just a larger class, you might not be privileged to that same help.
And the other thing as well, of course, being here, the travel gets cut down because I know we're not a big state, but traffic can still get in the way and then staying away. And if you've got family or whatever. So do you find it a little bit more convenient from that point of view as well, that you don't have to stay away from your life, as it were, in this part of the state?
Yeah, especially for me. I have a daughter. She's 5, so being able to go home every day, even though I drive an hour, the commute is good because I get to go home, kind of decompress on the way there, think about stuff that I've done during the day, what I've learned, some cool things that I've learned. Even when I'm coming in the morning, I wake up earlier, but I get to study on the way here or think about what the exam's going to be about or just things that we're going to go do about in the day. So that helps out. But I enjoyed it so far. It's been a great experience.
Yes, absolutely. The small class, the less travel time, and being at the satellite location in the Eastern region, the instructors are people we know, some from our department, some from other departments. We have a lot of Norwich instructors. Unfortunately, none of our recruits are currently going to Norwich, but we learn a lot in this region and everybody shares the same information, so nothing gets lost in translation and everything is the same, and it just makes it easier to grasp the knowledge.
That must be important as well, because I think people just think, oh, police, and it's all the same, but it isn't, is it? I mean, certain police departments deal with certain types of different crimes more because of their area, like rural police departments. Yukon, of course, dealing with a completely different type of community. Do you find it helpful that your instructors are from this area?
Yeah, I do. Especially a lot of the times we're going to be helping each other with mutual aid if an emergency goes on. So we're all being trained on how to do things the same way. So there's no discrepancies when something happens. We all respond the same way and know what to do when we get there. So it's been great, and having guys come, a lot of our instructors come straight off the road, so they're still in uniform. They just did a shift. They're coming in to teach us, so we're getting fresh knowledge. So that's also very helpful.
Police jobs these days are so tough because you're expected to do absolutely everything. Everybody just seems to call the police the moment something goes wrong. So to have these officers who are current, who are out there, it just adds to that training knowledge.
Yeah, I feel very confident, safe, and secure knowing that I have not one, but a huge amount of coworkers that I can rely on for information. Haven't just known them for a few months. I know I can go to them all the time. Waterford, we have to contact our primary FTO every Friday and give them an update. And each phone call ends with, if you have any questions or any concerns, you know how to reach out to me. So I know as soon as I have a question, I know it immediately I can reach out to him and he'll help me.
Well, it's been great talking to you both. I know that you're both incredibly busy, so thank you for sparing us time this morning. I know we need to get you back to class and continue your training, but thank you for talking to us on the podcast. My thanks again to the staff and recruits of the Eastern Regional Police Academy for letting us get a snapshot of the work and training they do. And if you're interested in a police career, then contact your local police department to see what vacancies are available. And if you live in Eastern Connecticut, then visit the Law Enforcement Council website at lawenforcementcouncil.org for all the latest job postings in the region.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Time now for a look at other stories making the headlines this week. The US Coast Guard is under new leadership after Admiral Linda Fagan, the former commandant, was fired by the new Trump administration recently. Fagan was relieved of her position by acting Homeland Security Secretary Benjamin Huffman. Christine Dunn is a partner at the law firm Sanford, Heisler, Sharp and McKnight and is representing Coast Guard sexual assault survivors and said Fagan's removal is hopefully a turning point for the agency.
I'm encouraged by President Trump ousting her. I am hopeful that her successor will embrace the position with much more transparency and willingness to hold people accountable for what happened in Operation Foul Anchor. So I don't know what will happen, but I am hopeful that the next person in that role will be more open.
Dunn also says she hopes other Operation Foul Anchor survivors will now come forward with Fagan out of the picture.
I hope that Admiral Fagan being ousted might empower them. Some changes are starting to be made. She was part of the leadership that was keeping this under wraps and keeping this from coming out. And maybe now with her being terminated, people will feel more emboldened to come forward. I hope more survivors come forward. The more survivors we have joining together, the more powerful we are.
A senior Homeland Security official said that Fagan was also removed due to leadership deficiencies, operational failures, and erosion of trust in the Coast Guard due to her mishandling of the Operation Foul Anchor cover-up of sexual assault and misconduct in the Coast Guard and at the Coast Guard Academy based in New London. Connecticut Congressman Joe Courtney, however, has criticized the Trump administration's actions, calling Fagan's firing an abuse of power. 2025 has got off to a bad start on Connecticut's roads with almost one road death per day since the new year started, and 2024 was the second worst year for the number of traffic deaths in the state in the last 4 years, according to state crash data. Dr. Eric Jackson is the executive director of the Connecticut Transportation Institute that tracks crash information.
Looking at fatalities through 2024, we had 64 pedestrian fatalities, 169 driver and passenger fatalities, 77 motorcycle fatalities, and 4 bicyclists killed. So that means our pedestrian fatalities were actually up 14% over our 5-year average. So we saw a pretty significant increase in pedestrian fatalities.
Jackson said the majority of the state's crashes occur on town and city roads as well as state roads and happen at junctions or intersections where drivers fail to stop or run a red light, striking pedestrians.
What we are seeing is on the pedestrian side, our older pedestrians are much more likely to be struck and killed in the roadway. They have mobility issues, they walk slower, so they're in the roadway much longer. So we're overrepresented in terms of older pedestrians or vulnerable road users in our crash data.
Jackson said Connecticut also has a culture of impaired driving and impaired fatalities, regularly appearing as a top state for accidents involving a combination of alcohol or drugs, or both. New England Donor Services, or NEDS, a non-profit that coordinates organ and tissue donation in the Northeast, announced record numbers of life-saving organ donations and transplants in 2024. NEDS said this is the 4th consecutive year they've set new records, and last year received 648 deceased organs, contributing to over 1,500 transplants, an increase of 80% since 2020, and an 18% increase from 2023. Sean Fitzpatrick is a spokesperson for NEDS and explained a new approach they've been using about when to talk to families about organ donation.
Previously, it had been considered a best practice to bring it up only at the end of life. But what we have found is that families of the severely ill and brain injured want that information earlier so that they can make a more informed decision during the decision of end of life. So we found that that really reduces the amount of times where timing becomes a barrier.
Fitzpatrick said they are also using more technology to help with the organ donation process.
New perfusion devices that allow us to remove organs, and instead of just simply putting them in a cooler with ice, we can actually affix these organs to devices outside the body that improve the function of the organ before it's transplanted and keeps the organ viable longer.
Fitzpatrick said that one person can save up to 8 lives as an organ donor and heal 75 people as a tissue donor. Anyone interested in becoming an organ or tissue donor can register via their driver's license, through the Apple iPhone Health app, or at the National Donate Life donor website, registerme.org. And a new travelling exhibition marking the 3rd anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine has opened at Connecticut College in New London. Called Posters from the Odessa City Letters Project, the exhibition showcases Ukrainian resilience through graphic design and typography. Andrea Wollensack is a professor of art at Connecticut College and was instrumental in helping to bring the project to the United States.
I was a Fulbright scholar in the fall of 2023, and I was in Estonia, in Tallinn, where I worked with the Estonian Refugee Council, and it was an opportunity to work through poetry with Ukrainian refugees and to share their work. And so when I came back, I connected with the folks at the Cooper Union and at MICA, and they were excited with the idea to bring this exhibit here to the college.
Wollensack says the art is a powerful reminder of what is continuing to happen in Ukraine beyond the media headlines.
There are a number of posters by contemporary Ukrainian poets, and we have really a range of stories that are about courage, humor, defiance in the face of ongoing conflict. And each piece, each large poster, serves as a powerful reminder of the art's role in preserving cultural identity under threat.
Wollensack says apart from the exhibition, there will also be workshops giving an opportunity for her students to create their own posters and use typography created by Ukrainian artists. The exhibition is open until March 7th at the Cummings Art Galleries at Connecticut College and is open to the public and is free. Details can be found at the website concol.edu and search for art news and events. That's all from us for this edition. Do send us your questions and story ideas to the show via our website at connecticut-east.com or Facebook or Twitter at Connecticut East and on Instagram at Connecticut East This Week. And you can listen to the show again on our social platforms on demand and by asking your smart speaker to play Connecticut East This Week podcast. And please like, follow and share on your social media too. I'm Brian Scott Smith. Thank you for listening.